So, hello and welcome to the next episode of the Self Development with Tactics podcast. And I'm your host, Christopher Wolk. And actually, this is a little story I have to tell you. Um, Actually, today there was a native speaker at my school. So, if you might know, I'm an Austrian student, a graphic design student actually. And I was really happy about that invitation by my school or by my teacher or whoever just, created this one. But I actually do know now, or do now know, how my name is actually pronounced in English, which is quite a good thing for me because I never really was sure about if it's called Walk or whatever. And then the first thing she told me that is that it would be some kind of Walch because of the CH. So it's actually, if you do not know, it's actually spelled WALCH. And but then she said you could also say a walk, and I do say walk now. The thing is the actual, and this is a thing a friend of mine just kind of reminded me on, just noticed that it is actually an Austrian name, so it should be actually pronounced as the Austrian name, which then would be Walch, Walch. And the thing is, this isn't a phrase or anything in the English language, and this is the reason why I do not really, kind of, it would be a little bit disturbing at my point of view to just, have a in your recordings and in your beginning of the video. But as I can remember correctly, I was going through, and I actually hope to find it some kinda. It was actually under the self-help books. Yeah, it was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl, which is actually an Austrian-Hungarian citizen, or he was an Austrian-Hungarian citizen because I think he already died, unfortunately. I think it's always just quite a bad thing if, in general, if people die, that's for sure, but, it's a little bit better if just such, important people die. So please do not get me wrong, I do not really care about people's, how should I say, people's wealth or people's accomplishments or whatever more than their lives. So I'm not like, yeah, this poor guy can die and I do not give a fuck about it. That's totally not true. I think everybody should have the right to live. Everybody should have the right to have a happy life. And I hope that you are happy. This is actually what I hope, and this is actually what I really wish you to be. I really hope, and there's quite nothing more than me hoping that you are right and everything is okay at your place and with your life and everything. But yeah. I just, I wish you the best wealth, happiness, everything. Just everything and anything. And you might be wondering why I do wear a cap today. My hair do not look that good today, and I feel quite a little bit comfortable with it. I'm just a guy who is always wearing just some sort of hat. So it was always a thing I've been doing since I was a little child. But nevertheless, mental images. We've talked about this one. Logo therapy. Yeah, I think. I think we actually stopped at logo therapy, and I do actually can't. So you can't actually see it, I guess. You can't actually see my mouse. No, you can't. This is a funny thing, because I was always just showing you things with the mouse. So we are at logotherapy, which is, the word standing right in the middle, quite in the middle of the screen. And yeah, let's actually have a look on the screen. Everything is doing right. No watches, unfortunately, but everything is going right. Yeah. It's actually a pretty nice thing to have, just, this bigger screen in front of you to just be able to check a lot of things and actually being able to translate things if the need is there. But we're actually 8 minutes in already and I haven't been talking about the book. So, logotherapy. A chapter of Man's Search for Meaning is dedicated to logotherapy, the psychotherapy school founded by Viktor Frankl. Contrary to Freud's introspection, logotherapy takes the person out of themselves and puts their life in a broader perspective. Logotherapy also sees mental health as the tension between who you are and who you could be, or whom you wish to be, a concept repeated by Tony Robbins. So it's actually, logotherapy also sees mental health as the tension between who you are and who you could be, which is, actually makes sense. So if you are not in that a great mental stage or at the moment, it really can, kind of steal the opportunity of yours to just get to your greatest, because you're so, I don't know, maybe so depressed, or you're so in a bad mood, or because of just your mental stage. In the logotherapy's perspective, existential distress is not neurosis or mental disease, but a sign that we are internally looking for a meaning in our life. Depression sets in indeed only when the gap between who we are and whom we could be becomes so large that we cannot longer ignore it, which actually makes sense, because because it just makes sense. There's nothing to say about it. It just makes sense. Thus, depression can be a welcome warning if we use it as a wake-up call for some long-due soul searching. And I think in general, feelings are such an important thing. And we, in this, kind of stage in our era of, the 21st century, we just, it seems to be cool to ignore your feelings and to not just look at your feelings and be like, these are actually the feelings I have, and you should not be ignoring them, because there is a reason why you have them. They either show you something you do not see by your eyes or with your eyes, or just with your brain, and or they just actually fear, which I assume is a feeling. I'm not sure right now. Fear, it is a feeling. What I'm talking about. If you fear of something, this is just something that nature put into us, because some time ago, fear was actually something that was usable. Today, or nowadays, we do actually not have that kind of predators, which, fear might have. We just have to, be using fear for to kind of get rid of them, or just, this flight or fight response. So either you fight against this predator or you flight. And in both things, adrenaline and I think fear and all these feelings that came up in certain situations would have been such a life-saving thing sometimes. And also your gut feeling. Your gut feeling is actually something you should always keep an eye on, or also keep an eye on, because actually your gut can tell you things your brain and eyes do not see. It's quite the same as with your brain, at my point of view, or just with your feelings in general. Sunday neurosis, slow roasting. Okay. Indeed, before reaching full depression, Viktor Frankl talks about Sunday neurosis, which is the feeling of dejection at the end of the working week. We realize our day-to-day humdrum is empty and meaningless, and instead of going to the root, because we cover up the pain with binge eating, drinking, or shopping, the bad thing is that this compensation is the short term, might even patch us up, which just means that if you really feel on Sunday to be just really meaningless, your life being meaningless, you can't do actually something that's, something worth for you, or some kind of worth for you, then, you actually should not be binge eating or drinking or shopping, but actually finding something you're passionate about and work on it, actually also during the week, or besides, the actual work you're doing. Just, having a hobby of yours you can, just do, which you totally like. It could also be a sport or something, and but I actually can really um, I can really feel what he is there talking about, because I was feeling this exact same thing some time ago. So before I was making this social media and business kind of thing, I was just a little bit depressed all the time when there was a weekend, actually, because I felt like pretty meaningless. There was nothing I could actually do that felt for me like, yeah, this is something that's um, I always say intelligent, but it's more like it makes me feel that I'm doing something good for either my body or someone else, or for my brain, or something for my life. By doing the social media thing and this YouTube thing and the podcast thing, I really feel like I'm doing something that's contributing my life. First of all, my career, my happiness, and because of the two first factors, but also a lot of other things. And but the thing is, um, I actually felt it, and because I found myself something that I'm passionate about, or I like to do, which is doing the social media thing again. All these feelings went away most of the time. Sometimes I just feel like, yeah, a little bit these feelings, but then I just remind myself of my social media thing and that I could actually be working on this right now. The bad things is that these compensation in the short term might even patch us up and poison us just like a drug would. And probably worst of all, they prevent us from looking deeper into ourselves to find meaning, which is actually, pretty true, because, if you just do have certain feelings of not being meaningful and just, drink yourself away so that you do not actually know anything the next day, it's actually true that you won't really be thinking, yeah, what could I do now that might be a little bit better for me or might be a little bit more meaningful to me. Yeah, and this part made me think of Henry Thoreau's quote about most people, living a life of quiet desperation. And then we actually come to the point of finding meaning, or actually finding meaning. So here we are finally, as the author says of this article. How can you find meaning? According to Frankl, the main sources of meaning are, first of all, giving back to the world with your work or creation, which is something I really want to emphasize. Emphasized by all these things I do on social media. Money and success are, and at my point of view, will always be a byproduct of, first of all, maybe helping people, doing something you love or at least like, because most of the time these two things just are, something later, or will appear something later after you actually see that you're talented at them. And yeah, the third thing, in generally giving away something, I would say. Giving away something in terms of charity, in terms of solving people's problems, as I told you before, or just, was the first point. So it's actually giving something back to the world. And this reminds me of something I've been reading on another summary. I actually, unfortunately, do not know which summary it was. I'm pretty sorry about that. But he was then talking, it was actually from James Altucher. And there was actually only one book I was covering of him, so I might look it up, might not buy it, but I actually know what he was talking about. So he was talking about, if the world doesn't tell you every single day, at least once at a time, or once, that thank you. If the world doesn't tell you thank you once a day, then you're doing something wrong. Which is, basically what Frankl means with his first point of finding meaning. The second one is experiencing or love. Experiences are, a key factor for, happy living at my point of view, and love as well. Because if this is your family, if this is your girlfriend or boyfriend, if this is or are actually your friends, love is important. And if I remember correctly, there was some kind of study. I do not actually know if it is, actually true, or some sort of correct, or if it's, even scientific, but not having, you know, social contacts, or, you know, some friends or somebody to laugh, or a girlfriend or boyfriend, someone you could hang around with, is as poisonous for your body as smoking 2 cigarettes a day, or 2 packs of cigarettes. I do not remember correctly. 2 packs of cigarettes a day, which is, you know, quite a lot. It's a ton. You know, you can get cancer in a year because of that. Possibly. You could just get cancer because of everything nowadays, it seems like. But yeah, let's look at the third point, which is the attitude we take to situations and suffering outside our control. Which means that, you know, if something happens, like, your train gets delayed, or I don't know, it's raining outside and you really wanted to do this bike tour today, and then you really can't decide between either being just really angry and just really being pissed about that it is raining outside, or you could just be like, okay, it's what it is, and, you know, I will admit it, and I will instead do something that's, you know, something great, or something on the greatness level, as the bike trip was. But yeah, you have always the chance, not the chance, but the choice of how you're reacting to certain situations or scenarios. The first is what you could call a life purpose or life goal. I love the second one, as it puts experiences and a life of enjoyment as an alternative to achievement. And thus, traveling the world or giving yourself fully to your partner can replace a more concrete or materialistic goal, which is true. And I think it's also some kind of giving something back to the world, because you're actually, if you do have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and if you do have the experience already, the experience of, you know, being, you know, freshly in love, and, you know, these kind of feelings, you actually know that you would be doing quite everything, and I hope everyone and every partners are doing that. You would basically be doing everything for this particular person, because you're so much in love with this person. And I felt it as well, and, you know, everything was great in these periods of time. Everything was, you know, everything was shiny, everything was beautiful, until, you know, the first few problems came up. But there's actually nothing to hide about. You know, there will always be some kind of you know, stressed out people, and all these things. These are just normal. We get to the third, when we learn to look at suffering as an opportunity to find meaning in life. For example, in the most dire of consequences, we could take a pride in staying humans and helping one another instead of regressing animal levels. In terms of finding your meaning in life through just really dramatical experiences or something like this is really kind of what happened to me, to be honest, because I really started my self-development journey with, as you might know, with motivational speeches by Les Brown, and, you know, later find out that, you know, most of the greatest quotes I was hearing in them were actually from Will Smith and from Eric Thompson. Tony Robbins, not that much, only a little bit. And sometimes I was kind of listen to some German ones, but most of the time they were completely shit, and I really didn't like them. But why I did this? Because my heart got broken. This is, you know, the actual story behind this. Then I was just really, really, really not that happy. And then I do not know if I just, you know, was listening actually before them, and really started out with listening to those motivational speeches just, you know, because of this situation I was in, or if it was actually only because of this. But actually, you know, it made me to the person I am today, and it, you know, really made me definitely more kind than I ever was before. Before the last years, I was just quite a fucking person. Yeah, I wasn't that good. I was not full of shit, but I wasn't nice. And through these things, I really got to know what being nice means. And, you know, this really transformed me, and I'm actually pretty happy that happened. Yeah. To me, it can run even deeper. This is about growing and becoming people who are able to choose our meaning, no matter the situation we are in. So I have to read it again, sorry. To me, it can run even deeper. This is about growing and becoming people who are able to choose our meaning no matter the situation we are in. So yeah, we always can choose our directions. Our directions, some sort of, get made up by our habits we do all the time. How we act, how we think, what things we visualize, all these things. But most of the time, what we just do. So if you just eat a burger or 5 burgers a day for the next 5 months or years, you will definitely not be that healthy as if you were just, eating a lot of broccoli or salad or whatever. And I do not really want to say that you should only eat something like this. This would not also be the greatest nutrition or the greatest diet in actually, yeah. And I also was thinking about if I should actually cover nutritional books or books about nutrition on this channel as well. And it could actually be a great thing because, I'm actually pretty into it and also into exercising. And this might be also some great things. And, the funny thing about self-development is that I can actually, put everything into it because it's only about your perspective. If you really think like, maybe playing the guitar is something that's, that you can do through yourself being developed, which, makes actually sense because I'm not able to play the guitar. But, I could just, develop this skill and therefore I would some sort of develop something of myself. And so, basically I could put everything into it, but, it also depends on what people actually want to hear and what actually people are into in. But I'll read along. I leave you indeed with a powerful quote from the book on the subject. So when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Or, our thinking of this situation. So the real life applications. Get a strong why for a happier life and overcome depression. If you feel depressed, maybe you don't have an overarching goal which chooses you. It doesn't have to be a lofty or grandiose. It doesn't have to be lofty or grandiose. You want a kid, maybe your goal is find a man and become the best mother you can be. You like smoking weed and gaming, what about a legalization advocate and game tournaments to take kids off the streets? Do you hear this? When people really extremely, not knock on your door, but, ring the bell. Ring the bell. It's actually great that he points out that there is not a generalization of things you should be doing, but there is quite a lot of things, and I think it's even quite great that he puts out such crazy examples of just like smoking weed and gaming. If you're really into this, you could also be live streaming on a state that might be smoking weed legal in would be nice and or good for you. But you could, start a gaming streaming channel. You could start a gaming YouTube channel. You could be the best gaming esports man or girl who is on the planet in this certain game. Yeah. Yeah. Enjoying what life can offer is a great way of living a meaningful life. If you are like me and tend to be demanding of yourself and rarely enjoy rewards, start changing that. Book holidays, plan new activities, learn to lose yourself in a new experience you will cherish for years and start living life fully. It's a skill you and you can learn it. You and you can learn it. Develop a growth mindset. Love someone or go even further by loving and cherishing everyone close to you, which is actually something that's I think it's important actually to to praise others, to being kind to others, to just, telling people that they were actually doing something good, especially in front of other people, because this is what, really puts them on a really high, really high ground. Because if you just, speak about other people in before, again, other people, these, will just create a framework for them to just be happy, or just, feel like, you really think I'm that good at this? Yeah, you know what I mean. This is always a good one. Yeah. So I think I actually am feared about someone stepping into my room now, and me having to really cut that out, because I actually hear, and I do have to be a little louder, that they are speaking in front of my door. I'm in 25 minutes, which would be, or 28 minutes if in terms of the live stream. This would actually be the episode with, or maybe I'm actually only stopping the live stream. This might be an option, because just losing the episode, even though I might also be doing another episode today, because I do not have anything to do today, I will just do another episode today. You know what? I will do another episode today, because it's fun, because it's what I like to do, because it's great. And I will also be streaming it, because, later in the day, there's no fear about having someone stepping into my room and really fucking up my whole recording. But for now on, I have to say goodbye, and I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, whatever your time zone you're in. And I wish the best wealth, health, happiness. As always, your Chris, and I'll see you the next time. I just have to see where my mouse is. I'll see you the next time. I love you. So now, stop the recording.